This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engaging with your audience, and selling anything from products to content to time. All in one place, all on your terms. I am a very recent ex-terf, and I extend my deepest apologies. Wow, okay, I was wrong. Ooh. Hey Spuds, how's it going? It's Jamie, welcome back to another video, first video channel. I don't know, but welcome either way. And today it is a first of its kind video on the channel. We are looking at some questions, a subreddit that's ask trans. Ask the transes is, ask trans, ask very grammatically incorrect. Not the subreddit, just me right now. Things that people have asked trans people and that trans people have asked other trans people. So I thought that we could go through a few of them today together and just answer some trans questions because hello, I am trans. Oh, okay, we're kicking it off with a light one today. Why do trans people like sharks? This is the biggest evidence you will ever need that I am trans. If there's ever a point where someone doesn't believe me that I am transgender, I own a blowhigh, therefore trans. I'm gonna go get him for you, hold on. Ta-da! Every trans person I met is obsessed with sharks and blowhigh, and I see it's generally so present in trans culture. Is there a reason? As far as I'm aware, there kind of are reasons. I'm pretty sure though, it's because if we see the blowhigh, if we look at the blowhigh, we have the blue and the white and the pink, like the trans flag. Blowhigh is therefore repping the trans flag
with his body.
I'm pretty sure that's where it started, and then it just became this whole thing. If anybody knows any of information about it, or if I'm not quite accurate, then please let me know. That was a nice little light-hearted one to kick it off. So moving on, I'm just going to interrupt our regular broadcasts. We're going to take a break from the trans questions so I can talk to you about the journey that I've been on with. I don't know if you've noticed, Spuds, but since January I've been trying my hand at many different professions, including artisanal cheese carver, the ringmaster of a cat circus, a pride jam maker, a hairstylist to guinea pigs, a dentist to dinosaurs, and most recently, the maker of LGBTQ plus bucket hats, otherwise known as LG Bucket Hats, not bisexual erasure. All of these very, very real and not at all made up jobs have all become wonderful websites thanks to Squarespace. They've all had to come to an end, unfortunately, due to various different reasons, but Squarespace let me bring them all to life. And unfortunately, that does mean that my bucket hat business of LG Bucket Hats is now also coming to a close. Turns out the demand was so high for hats that shade you from both the sun and the bigotry that I used up the world's supply of pride flag fabric. But in better news, Squarespace allows you to easily create beautiful websites that engage audiences and customers. You can sell online using Squarespace's online store, whether they're physical like cheese carvings, jam or bucket hats, or digital like jam recipes or cheese carving instructions, or service-based products like guinea pig hairstyling or dinosaur dentistry. Squarespace has all the tools you need to spread the word and start selling online. They also make it easy to get paid for your products and services, which is very important. This is super easy due to their flexible payments, making checkout seamless for customers who can pay using credit cards, PayPal, and even Apple Pay. And whatever your website is for, including a shop, you can use Squarespace's handy analytics to keep an eye on growth. For Sharp and I's actual real website that is not going anywhere, these analytics let us check on things like top traffic sources and the geography of site visitors. You can also get insights on sales metrics and understand how your reach is growing. Basically, Squarespace gives you all the data you need to scale your business. Please go comment below if you've enjoyed my journey through all of these different jobs over the past 6 months, and let me know what your favorite was. I personally really like the guinea pig hairstylist. Just love a guinea pig with a perm. I'm hoping to come back very soon with some more jobs, so please do also go comment down below what you would like to see me do next. And then obviously do not forget to go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Jammidodger for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. The link is in the description box, and now back to the trans questions. Oh yeah. My daughter, 16 MTF, got suspended from school for arguing with a substitute teacher over her preferred name.
Hold up.
I will of course read the rest of the post, but just on that title, was the substitute teacher disrespecting your daughter's name? But then your daughter's the one that gets punished for speaking out. I'm confused. I want to know what happens. Basically what the title says, a few weeks ago my daughter, been on estrogen for over a year and generally passes pretty well, was in class when the substitute teacher was taking attendance and called out my daughter's dead name. Oh. My daughter hasn't legally changed her name, so her dead name is what's in the school system. That feels sucky. Like, I feel like they should be able to have, like, if for legal reasons they need a legal name in the register, could they not at least put in brackets, like, but please refer, or please call, and then preferred name? I don't know why that would be such an issue. My daughter asked to be called her preferred name, and the teacher supposedly, according to my daughter, said that he would call her the name on the attendance sheet and called her young man. Ew. She understandably had some choice words for the teacher, who sent her to the principal's office. The teacher needs to be sent to the principal's office. I get it, if you are a new teacher with this class, you're just going to read out the names on the register. But if a pupil goes, this is my preferred name, you know, I'm sure that the regular teacher calls them by their preferred name. Why are you disrespecting that and then taking it one step further by misgendering? Why? A few days later, I got an email from the school saying my daughter was suspended for a day for disrespecting the authority
of a substitute teacher.
At first, I was like, the substitute teacher needs to get in the bin. Now the whole school does. That seems really unfair. Like, imagine that exchange. I would appreciate if she went past the point of being polite. Not that the teacher being disrespectful like that deserved a massive level of politeness, but if we're thinking context of a school environment, then I can understand why there would be maybe repercussions if she'd sworn or used inappropriate language or something. It's not been said if that happened or not. But the use of choice words suggests that maybe it wasn't kept fully calm, but I can see why you wouldn't stay fully calm in that situation. I can also see why a school establishment would have consequences for a pupil, like swearing at a teacher. But suspension, and on the basis of disrespecting the authority of a substitute teacher, and then also, why is a teacher not getting any kind of consequences for misgendering a pupil? This is so uncomfortable. I don't know if this is based in the UK or not. The email did appropriately refer to her by the correct names and pronouns, and up until this incident, the school had been very accommodating of my daughter. I've gone back and forth via email for 2 weeks, but I just got an email saying the suspension is final and my daughter has to serve it on Monday. That's really confusing. I wonder, do you think the teacher gave like a different account of what happened and the school is believing the substitute teacher over the pupil? I don't know what to do. My daughter likes her friends and moving her to a new school will probably be difficult for her and her anxiety, but she's also complained about this school ever since that incident. I'm just at a loss right now and will have a much more in-depth conversation with my daughter tonight/this weekend, but I'm currently very unhappy. OP sounds like a really supportive, loving, amazing parent, and despite this not being the most amazing situation, it warms my heart to read about a parent taking such care and supporting their trans child so fiercely that this has caused this much upset to them. I also think this really highlights the importance of kids being able to be themselves within school environments and the school respecting that under all the contexts and not just like being okay with it until,
oh, someone didn't respect it and you got a bit upset. Okay, well, we're gonna put their feelings way above yours and not care about yours.
It's kind of like the school rubbed along with it well, whilst all the other teachers were kind of in agreement and were doing what they should do to just be respectful human beings. But as soon as somebody comes in who doesn't respect that and the pupil pushes back, all the punishment goes onto the pupil for some reason. It kind of feels like very veiled acceptance on the part of the school. I think there's a conversation to be had over, I'm sure this has already happened if there's been email exchanges, but like, what exactly was said? What is this whole like disrespecting the authority of a substitute teacher? The authority of what? Like, what authority does he have to dead name and misgender a trans pupil? That just seems really horrible when in all school communication and at the school, this pupil is known as this name by this pronouns. Okay, for purposes of like legality, I'm sure on the register, the dead name needs to be there. Other than that, in all the communication with the school from other people, all correct name, all correct pronouns. So what authority is being disrespected in the substitute teacher? If there's been swearing or like inappropriate behavior from the pupil in response, I mean, I'm not like telling them off because it doesn't sound like a comfortable situation, but at the same time I appreciate that the school would need to have consequences for certain behaviours. That's separate to the authority of the substitute teacher. It does feel a bit bizarre that this has happened. It's such a shame that your daughter's in a school that she initially was comfortable in, she has friends in, she's accepted by, and then this incident has really rocked the boat, because honestly, finding spaces that you feel accepted in and comfortable to be yourself in as a trans person is like far more special than it should be. It should just be what happens, but unfortunately it doesn't happen all the time. And to have found that scenario, I hope that this doesn't entirely destroy it and things can get back to where they were. Maybe the dialogue needs to move away from the punishment and the suspension and more into how are things going to be moving forward. That would probably be my recommendation. Damn, why'd they do this? That's not cool. It does bring up the fact that actually very recently the UK is proposing to introduce basically another round of Section 28. So Section 28 was brought in the late 80s by Margaret Thatcher, and it was around in the UK until 2003. So like I was 9 years old at school before this even left the realm of legality, let alone even had a chance to heal in terms of people being open. It basically prohibited the
promotion of homosexuality.
It said, a local authority shall not intentionally promote homosexuality or publish material with the intention of promoting homosexuality or promote the teaching in any maintained school of the acceptability of homosexuality as a pretended family relationship. It was horrendous. It caused such a brutal ripple effect, such a huge amount of shame among young LGBT plus people, a huge amount of secrecy and just not being able to talk about it. It was awful. And basically what we're seeing in the UK now is a plan to ban discussions around gender identity, so like trans people in schools. So we're basically seeing like a second wave of Section 28 but targeted specifically towards trans people. Schools in England will reportedly be banned from teaching children about gender identity and trans issues under planned new education guidance. So yeah, that's the thing that's awful and horrible and just mind-numbingly sad. But back to the specific, I don't know if it was a question, but a thing. Thank you for being such a wonderful parent. I really hope the school gets back to being accepting and open-minded and just is supportive of your daughter in the way that they should be. I would recommend personally moving those conversations onto, okay, this is what's happened. This is where I think things went wrong and how can you as a school do better next time, and have those discussions instead. I would stop trying to fight the suspension. It sounds like they have made their mind up about that and you're just going to go around in circles. So moving on that conversation to be like, okay, well, what if this happens again? Can we please have a discussion about how you as a school can be more supportive and not suspend my daughter for talking back to somebody who's disrespecting her? There should, at the very least, there should have been mutual consequences for any wrongdoing on anybody's part. Would you ever date a cis person? What if you got to know them before you found out they're cis? Serious answers only, folks. This is a very serious topic and it should be treated seriously serious. Would you ever date a cis person? Like, whenever you flip stuff to discuss about a different group of people or discuss like about cis people or straight people, the types of things that are brought up for LGBT plus people, it highlights the ridiculousness in it. It's like, sure, there might be many factors that would instantly put you off from wanting to date somebody, but either personality wise or looks wise, there might be many things about them once you get to know them a little bit that would put you off from dating them. And you know what, if you don't want to date a trans person, don't date trans people because they don't want to date you either. But it's the concept of it becoming this big question and this thing that people feel like they have to state. Like, I'm surprised that transphobes haven't started putting it in their bio.
Jeremy, 6'5", trust fund, finance, I don't know, will not date trans people.
I'm sure it is in people. Actually, what am I saying? They do. It's a lot of like cis straight dudes who are transphobic will put it in their bios. The transphobic bit is if you don't see that trans person as their gender, or if you are just like blatantly outright going,
oh, it's not transphobic to not date a trans person, so I'm just going to say all of this transphobic stuff.
Why you're not wanting to date a trans person is rooted in transphobia. So I find it really uncomfortable and a big red flag if people will put in their bios, I will not date a trans person, or asks a question of like, would you ever date a trans person? Because I wouldn't. It's just not one of those things you need to say. Question as a parent? Ooh, question as a parent. I'll start by apologizing if this isn't the right sub to ask on, but my 12-year-old came out to us very recently. I really wasn't surprised, and neither was any of our extended family that he's told. Everyone is being genuinely supportive and wants him to be the person he wants and needs to be. I love it! That's such a beautiful paragraph to read. Thank you. The supportive parents in this so far are just warming my heart. He seems so much happier than I've seen him in such a long time. I'm doing my best to support him, but I don't know where to start other than what he's asked for, which is pretty basic for all he's gone through, such as taking down pictures of him with long hair, boys' underwear, some chest binders, using his new name and pronouns, and help finding a therapist to help him where his parents and step-parents cannot. I'm proud of his bravery and I let him know this a lot, but is there anything else you wish your parents would have done for you? I'm lucky to have an amazing, happy child and I would like to keep him that way. This is what every trans person deserves. This type of support. This is just so important. And honestly, like, I know that the parent here is coming from the perspective of like, I just want my kid to be happy. I want to do my best. Genuinely, the real impact of this is huge. And the meaningfulness of it and the importance of being this supportive to your child is incredible. For me, purely knowing I had that support made everything feel easier, made every hurdle feel smaller and every difficulty feel like overcomable. Like I could overcome it, you know? I had this support system in my life. It doesn't always need to come from parents. It doesn't always need to come from family, but just having that support is incredible. But obviously when you're 12 years old, having that from parents or parental figures is amazing and just super important and super wonderful to see. I'm just thinking if there's anything else I'd wish my parents would have done. I was also incredibly fortunate to have very accepting parents who did like all the same things. They, you know, they didn't really have pictures up, but they would have taken them down. I was able to get new clothes and chest binders, and they used a new name and pronouns for me and helped me know what to do in my transition pathway. Honestly, I personally don't really know what else. I think it's just as long as he knows that you're there, if he ever needs to speak to somebody about anything, he knows that he can come to you, showing that openness to learn about all the different stages. And whenever he reaches a different milestone or he figures something else out or he wants to try out something different or whatever, to being open to that and like learning about it along the way. I guess that's another thing, just like actively looking into things and learning for yourself. And then it's honestly just listening to your child and listening to what he needs and what's going to make him most comfortable. But I think you're doing a pretty stellar job, to be fair. If anybody else watching does have some more suggestions, if there's any parents of trans kids watching who are supportive and like found that there was something in particular that really helped their kid, hello, you're amazing. But also feel free to comment that down below and like open up the discussion. Friend. Oh, why do I think they're not that nice? They're not really a friend. Thinks transgender people are weird. How to explain? Imagine that. Just
no, I really just think trans people are weird.
Hello. Not trans myself, just an ally with a question. So I have a friend, more of an acquaintance. I love this like distancing. Like this person's done something shitty, so like let's put the layers of distance between us now. Who says that they support the gays? Or do they if they say the gays, really? But thinks trans people are weird. How wonderful of them. I have tried to explain to them that trans people are just people who want to be comfortable with themselves and express who they are. However, I can't seem to get it past their head. If people are not willing to listen, it really does not matter what you say, how many times you say it, how calm you are, how angry you are, whatever. They're just not gonna listen. I had this experience. It took somebody in my life 5 years to be prepared to even listen. But then, as soon as they were prepared to listen, we made a lot of progress very quickly, and now it's all wonderful. My family is really great friends with theirs, so that's why I'm trying to somewhat make it work, because that can be awkward. I've said over and over again that trans people are just people that want to be called something other than what they were at birth because they feel more comfortable this way. Yeah. Hold on. I will read on and then I will share a thought. I've explained it in forms of getting married. You're no longer Ms., you're Mrs., and that's what you should be called. Just a very, very vague example. Another I used was if a coffee shop changed into a CPA office, you're not still going to go in asking for a muffin and a latte. Okay, I see what they're doing. I really love it when allies want to spread education and help other people learn, especially if those people are kind of not really being outright transphobic, but just not getting it and not trying to get it and being a little bit disrespectful in the process. It's really good that they've come to ask questions. So like the end, I'll just finish reading. If anyone has any suggestions or ideas on how to explain to my friend and how to show them that you guys are just normal people, I would appreciate it. It just annoys me when they talk like this about such nice people. Thank you. How do I feel about this? I really appreciate this person wanting to be the best ally they can be and now coming on like a subreddit to get some advice on this. Something I would say is if you are having foot cramp, then you should probably sort that out. I'm having foot cramp right now. I think something I would say is that if you are not part of that community and you are trying to educate somebody on it, I don't know this particular person's like level of knowledge. So this is not a personal comment. This is a general hypothetical. If this were the scenario, I would always be very cautious about over explaining or getting too much in the details of describing how a group of people feel about certain things like identity. And I would probably be more inclined to steer that person in the direction of like, well, yeah, if you think trans people are weird, or if you don't like trans people, or if you don't accept trans people, could I recommend looking at this resource or that resource, or speaking to, maybe not speaking to this person. It's not the best idea to directly join two people if one is not being very respectful and one is the part of the community they're not respecting. But videos, books, websites, things like that, to hear from trans people themselves, as well as you giving an input and an education as an ally. I was just reading the bit that said trans people are just people that want to be called something other than what they were at birth because they feel more comfortable this way. It's not entirely wrong, but I think when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, if you've had longer conversations with this person where you've tried to explain in your mind as a cis ally what it means and feels like to be a trans person, it could get a little bit muddied and not be quite accurate. Not through any maliciousness, just through literally you are not trans, so therefore you cannot completely convey what it would feel like to be trans. It's also not saying that you should not try to talk about it or say things. I'm not saying like cis people cannot explain to, like cis allies cannot explain to other cis people who are maybe not an ally, like the concept of being trans. That's fine. I just think there should always be a little bit of cautiousness about exactly what you're saying and how you're saying it, because like to me as a trans person, that is not how I would describe the experience of being trans. It's a very oversimplified way, and I think especially when you're talking to somebody who doesn't understand and thinks being trans is weird, there needs to be that level of cautiousness to not make it sound like a choice or just, oh, trans people just feel a bit uncomfortable so they wanted to live as something different. Like I could see that being how this other person took OP's statement, not that I think OP meant it that way. Although I feel like even if it was described in the most pinpoint, beautifully eloquent, like just Shakespeare would have cried at how well this description is done, this person still wouldn't get it. So for me, I respect you trying, appreciate you trying, especially like for you in terms of this could be awkward with family dynamics as they're a family friend, but unless they start willingly wanting to listen and learn, they're not going to make any progress. I feel like you said your bit. If they're disrespectful, you can carry on calling that out. If you hear them misgendering a trans person or saying a transphobic joke or comment, call it out if you feel comfortable to. But other than that, I don't know. I think sometimes people we can't force people to change their minds. All we can do is share the truth of situations and hope that people want to learn. This isn't a question, but an apology and a thank you. Okay. I am a very recent ex-terf, and I extend my deepest apologies. Wow. Okay. I was wrong. Ooh. Now, see, I think that takes a huge level of growth to not just come out of a mindset that is discriminatory towards other people, but to then also stand up and be like, this is where I was with my mindset and I recognize I was wrong. And I realized that by taking the time to read the posts and comments by amazing trans people like yourselves, I was taken in by a false narrative that demonized people for simply existing and that projected nasty stereotypes without actually listening to trans people or taking a moment to listen to their experiences. I feel like that so succinctly, I hope I said that right, sums up how people like become TERFs. It's this complete blinkered viewpoint of the world of like, I've heard this on Twitter. This is all I've heard about this group of people, and I'm going to run with that.
And I'm going to make it bigger and bigger in my mind, and I'm going to surround myself with more people who've believed the same lie, and we're all going to get stuck together.
So hard to come out of. I have so much respect for somebody that's been able to come out of that and like grow and understand. I definitely think there's some people that cause significant amounts of harm where it's unforgivable. It reaches the point of like unforgivable. We all know who I'm talking about, and there's many others who fit that category as well, not just that one person. Obviously not saying OP is one of them, but thanks to you sharing your stories and feelings and experiences, I have realized how wrong and mean and bigoted I was being. Trans women are women and trans men are men. I'm sorry it took reading personal stories for me to understand this, and I'm cringing at making this about me, but I just wanted to express my respect for you all for being yourselves and to thank you for telling your stories. I think that's such a powerful message of you were taken in by a false narrative that demonized a community of people, but it was when you went away from that narrative and saw the personal individual stories and you saw trans people humanized that you realized that it was wrong to be transphobic. And I think that is just so true. They did like a survey, and it was like a vast majority of people who had transphobic views didn't know a trans person, and I think that speaks volumes. One of the biggest problems and one of the most powerful things about like TERFs as a group of people and why their views are so strong and embedded in themselves is because of the way they view the trans community and the fact that they are not allowing themselves to see the trans community humanized to them. So many have this block where it's like, no,
big scary group of people,
and they never ever take the time to see the individual stories and the individual lives and the individual struggles and recognize that trans people are just people wanting to live their lives, you know. Hello. And final question for today: why is the existence of transgender people treated as an ideology? I feel like part of the reason is what we just covered. Isn't the notion that the existence of transgender people is an ideology being forced on parents completely debunked by our scientific understanding of the topic? Yes. I have heard people who otherwise accept science refer to transgenderism as a mental illness in complete defiance of the scientific consensus. The evidence for trans people existing is the fact that trans people exist. People would not put themselves through the process of being a trans person and transitioning through choice. I didn't do this because I wanted the discrimination, because I wanted the wait lists, because I wanted the surgeries. I did this because I had to be my true self. I cannot get my head round why people have convinced themselves so hard that it's a choice. Well, the one theory with that is if they accept that it's not a choice, the whole argument and excuses for being transphobic and homophobic just absolutely dissolve. So you have to believe that there's some kind of choice in the matter in order to offset the cognitive dissonance of being a bigot. The scientific community accepts trans people, the medical community accepts trans people, all the research, the good peer-reviewed stuff support trans people. All those papers that transphobes cite are either really, really old and with flawed methodology that does not count for our understanding now, or it's just absolute shit that was done very badly. Like, one of the most destructive pieces of research for the trans community was on rapid onset gender dysphoria. I did a big video about this, but the short story of is conclusions were made about a community of people who were not even involved in the research. They interviewed parents that they found off transphobic websites and then came to a conclusion about trans people. Nah. I think it's treated like an ideology to make it seem scary. It's this concept of stripping away the humanity and stripping away the individuality and the fact that trans people are just people, and it's instead not being like, you know, oh, here's some trans people, these are their individual stories, and then going,
this is the big bad trans community, big trans,
bad trans,
the ideology that's trying to destroy women's rights and manipulate children and all of this stuff. And it's, people need to believe that in order to not feel like they're being bad people by just being bigots, because that's what they are. So there needs to be a reason for it, which is where the ideology part often comes in. I really hope we're going to get to a point one day very soon where it just all falls apart, because honestly, it's like a house of cards balancing on a matchstick at the moment, and we just need something to topple it over so the whole like the TERF ideology comes crashing down as it should, and all exposed as the bigots they are, purely just transphobic and on the wrong side of history. It will happen. I think we just need to be patient, write it out, but we'll definitely get there. Yeah, and that was the last question. Woohoo! What do we think of this video? It's definitely a topic I'd like to explore again. If you want to send me in your questions, then feel free to. You can go follow me on Instagram over at Jammidodger. Don't forget to go check out Squarespace if you want to get website building. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. Think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing if you want to, but no pressure. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I've already said that, but much love. Bye!